Dead Famous is a series telling amazing stories, celebrating the lives of the famous, the not so famous and the downright infamous. With their final resting places in Metropolitan Memorial Parks, these people represent what it is to be an Australian.
He was a larrikin and a Rhodes Scholar who'd held the world record for the time it takes to drink a yard of beer. A larger-than-life Australian who tamed his flaws and demons to become one of the country's most popular and successful Prime Ministers.
He is almost as Australian as you can get. You know, he loved to drink. He loved playing cricket. He loved watching sport. He loved being in a bar and meeting people from all walks of life. He had a very easy manner. He's a very sociable person, but he's also very intelligent and very smart.
Bob Hawke's academic achievements and his sporting prowess win him a scholarship to Oxford University. And his thesis on wage fixing in Australia gives him a taste and energy for the politics of the Australian trade union movement.
He joins the ACTU as a research advocate. He'd never really been a union activist. He was an intellectual. And so he went into this very heady environment of the trade union movement in the late 1950s and rose to lead it by the 1970s.
Hawke becomes the Australian Council of Trade Unions' highest profile and most successful president.
He was a very highly regarded president of the ACTU from 1970 to 1980. He had a great ability to resolve protracted industrial disputes, and he could come in almost often at the last minute and get both sides to negotiate, to compromise, to sort of advance in some areas, retreat in others, and broker a great industrial agreement.
Hawke made no secret of his ambition for a career in federal politics and to be Prime Minister, but there are three things holding him back.
So he had the problem with women, he had the problem with drink, and he had the problem in curbing his emotions.
Hawke is parachuted into federal parliament via a safe Labor seat. He becomes Labor leader on the eve of the 1983 federal election, winning a landslide victory and becoming Prime Minister.
He realised that he needed to reform his ways. He had to reform himself before he was going to reform the country. He had given up the drinking when he went into Parliament, and he moderated his behaviour. And so he surprised a lot of people with how good he was in being a Prime Minister.
Having transformed himself, Bob Hawke then set about transforming the Australian economy.
He opened it up to the world, floating the dollar, lowering the tariff wall, deregulating product, capital and labour markets, and Australia became of age in the global economy. The productivity was turbocharged, unemployment reduced, the country lifted out of a recession, and it became a sort of a model for the rest of the world.
As our last Cold War Prime Minister, Bob Hawke made a name for himself via international politics.
He had developed very good relations between East and West. So for people like Ronald Reagan and George Bush Sr., and Margaret Thatcher and Brian Mulroney, they looked to Hawke because he was able to develop relations with Chinese leaders and also Soviet leaders. Chinese leaders like Hu Yaobang and Zhao Ziyang, and in the Soviet Union, people like Mikhail Gorbachev, they liked Hawke. They saw him as a straight shooter, a plain dealer, a smart person who wanted to play a constructive role on the world economy.
But his greatest asset was his connection with ordinary, everyday Australians.
I tell you what, any boss who sacks anyone for not turning up today is a bum.
He loved the Australian people. He was comfortable with them. He wanted to meet them. He wanted to talk to them. A lot of politicians are strangely very shy. He wasn't shy. And there was nothing more that he loved than having a beer in his hand and sitting in a bar and talking to everyday Australians about their lives. Bob Hawke deserves to be remembered as a very significant Prime Minister. I think the most significant Australian Prime Minister since World War II. We've never had a Prime Minister since then who has won more elections or been more popular, also fundamentally changed the Australian nation. And this was a period of profound change for Australia, but people respected and trusted Bob Hawke, not only because of his long public career, but because of his style and his ability to communicate the benefits of change.